This is kind of a rough story. This is about the an incident that happened. It started in the Rikers Island library, and I was about 24, 25 years old when this happened. But I go down to the library in Rikers Island, and there's a Irish guy, prisoner, and he's working the copy machine, John. And John was a lot older than me. I guess I was about 25. John was maybe pushing 50. He may have been a little younger, but he was older than me. And John was from the Lower East Side. He was involved with the Westies, a real serious group of Irish guys, and he was facing a lot of time. John, he was facing 20 years, something like that. But me and John hit it off. Turns out we knew a few of the same people on the street, a couple of people on the street. And so I'd go down to the law library and shoot the shit with him. So John's job was to run the copy machine in the library. That's what he did. And so one day I'm down there hanging out with him, and John says to me, "Yo, you see that guy over there on the typewriter? Another prisoner." I look over. I see a guy. He's an Italian guy, maybe about 30 years old, in his 30s. He says, "If you ever see that guy, you ever catch that guy alone," he says, "I want you to break his jaw for me." So I said, "What happened?" So he says, "The guy molested both of his children." And so I said, "How do you know for sure? How do you know?" So John said, I had to copy his paperwork. He gave me his paperwork to copy. He says, and he says, I made my own set of copies too. He said, this way I have the proof, you know. So this way it was unquestionable that this is what the guy was in prison for, and in jail for. And so, I says, no problem. I have to catch the guy. I'm going to get him. Well, it was the very next morning that I had court, and they take me to the bullpens at about 5:30 in the morning to bring me to court. And the bullpens are chaos in Rikers Island. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of men going to court at the same time. And so you have some people going to Queens, some people going to Manhattan, some people going to Brooklyn, to Staten Island, wherever it may be. But they all get brought to the same area. So you can imagine how many people are going to court in the five boroughs from Rikers Island. And they have bullpens, which are big cells. And the cells are meant to hold about 20 people, but they're cramming 50 people in each cell. They're putting as many people as they can. They got about 10 of them, for like five on one side, five on the other side. It's 5:30 in the morning. Guys are walking naked, because you got to get strip searched and walk through metal detectors. You got these gray buckets. You take off your clothes, put them in the gray bucket, walk through the metal detector. The bucket goes through the x-ray machine, and you hear the shackles and the chains, and there's officers yelling on bullpens, Queens over there, Brooklyn over there, Manhattan over there, cell 5, cell 8. And it's real pandemonium, organized chaos, if it's organized at all. But it's really out of control. And like I said, it's 5:30, 6 in the morning, because they have to get you to court. They have to get you chained up and searched and shackled, and they have to have you in court, by 8 o'clock in the morning. You got to be in the court building, so there's a lot going on. So anyway, after I do my mandatory search and go through the magnometer, the officer says, "Where you going?" I'm going to Queens. He said, "All right, what cell? These 3 cells of Queens over here." So put me in this one. So I cram into this cell, and it's really tight. It's packed already. There's a lot of guys in there. And I see my buddy Leroy, Big Leroy's in there. That's my buddy. We're in the same housing unit in Rikers. He had court as well, so he's down in there. And I'm just talking with Lee, and I look over and I see the guy from the library, the one that molested his children. And he's not an easy mark. What I mean by that is he looks like he's a young, strong guy in his 30s, and an Italian guy. And so I said, I'm going to get him, So I tell Lee, I said, listen, you see that dude over there? Yeah. I says, I'm about to fuck him up. I said, don't let anybody jump me. Don't let anybody get involved. That's all I'm really concerned about. Lee's like, I got you. Don't worry about it. So the guy is over by a partition by the urinal. There's a urinal against the wall with a little partition, and he's just standing over there in the crowd. And so I walk into the urinal like I'm going to use it. I go on the other side of the partition and act like I'm going to pee. And I got the guy lined up right there. He's oblivious to what's about to happen to him. And to this day is one of the hardest I hit. One of the hardest I ever hit a guy, because as he's next to me on the other side of the partition, with all my might, I just come across with my elbow without saying a word, and I catch him right in the bridge of the nose. Whack! I mean, his face explodes and he goes right down to the ground, and everyone else in the cell makes room. They back up. Oh shit! What's going on? What's going on? And that guy hits the floor. Here's Bubby. Hi, Bubby. I'm telling a story, Bubby, right now. So this guy hits the ground. His face is leaking blood, and I'm a little out of control. The guy, when he hits the floor, says, "What are you doing?" He could hardly talk. It was a really hell of a shot. He says, "What are you doing to me?" I said, "You want to rape your kids? You want to rape your fucking kids, motherfucker?" He says, "I'm a burglar. I'm a burglar." I said, "You ain't no fucking burglar." And boom, I kick him right in the mouth. I mean, he definitely lost some teeth. And I step on his head a few times. I give him a few hard punches as he's on the floor. So a couple of the young kids that know me from inside of Rikers, they had some respect for me. They're like, "Yo, what's up, Fish?" I said, "This guy raped his fucking kids." So they start kicking him and punching him. It's getting really bad. He's unconscious. He's laying in a puddle of blood, and he's really broke up. I said, "This guy, he can get killed, right? So I tell everyone, yo, chill out, chill out, chill out." Cops are all over the place. They don't see what's going on right here. I told you there's pandemonium and chaos down there, 5:30 in the morning. And it's so loud you can't hear anything. And so everyone's now cleaning up. I got blood really just on my shoes, So I go over by the sink and I grab some paper towels by the sink. I'm wiping the blood off of my shoes. I got a little blood on my sweatshirt, so I take my sweatshirt off. I throw it in the garbage pail, and clean up. I'm cleaning up. I know everyone just takes their position and wait. It takes about a minute or two before an officer will walk by and see this guy unconscious in a puddle of blood, and he is hurt bad. I mean, he's definitely going to the emergency room probably for a month. Broken nose, maybe a broken arm. He's missing teeth. His face is cracked open in 3, 4 places, and the officers are used to chaos and they're used to violence. So when they see this, it's not like, "Oh my God," they're like, "All right, man down on cell 4, open cell 4." So they open the cell and they take this guy out, and it takes 5, 10 minutes to even get a stretcher. They put him on a stretcher and they take him off to I guess, to the hospital, to the infirmary, wherever they take him. Now they do have to do a little investigation. So what they do is they get a bunch of officers and they come outside of the cell and they line us all up against the wall. And the first thing they do is they want to look at your hands, right, to see if you have any injuries on your hands. So they make us everyone hold their hands out, and they come by. They got a little flashlight. They're looking at your hands. They make you turn them over to see if you have any marks. Then they make you lift up your shirt to see if you have any stab wounds. You got to lift your shirt up and turn around. And so I did good, man, because I used my elbow to hit him in the face. I was kicking him in the face. I gave him a few shots, but my hands were good. And so I make it through. Everybody makes it through. And now there's nothing they can really do at this time. Right? Their main concentration right now is getting everybody to court. Court is mandatory. Judges are waiting. Lawyers are waiting. They'll take the ID of everyone that was in that bullpen, so they know everyone that was in that bullpen if they have to deal with the situation later on in the day. And I go to court. I go to court that day, and whatever happens, happens. And then it's crazy because you leave for court at like 5:30 in the morning. I was going to Queens Supreme Court, and by the time I got back, it's like 8 o'clock at night. That's how long a court day is. It's really crazy. 12, 14 hours, 16 hours of chains and shackles, and a lot of times you go to court and nothing even happens. They just remand you for a later date, but anyway, it's not about court. So they bring me back from court that night, and I sign up for the law library in the morning. This way I can let John know that I got to do it. So I sign up for the law library, and The next day, I go down to the law library and there's John on the copy machine. So, he sees me, big hug. I said, "Yo, I got the child molester for you." I says, "When I went to court yesterday." So he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The child molester." I says, I got him so bad. I said, "The guy'll be lucky if he's alive." It was a really, really bad beating, dude. I says, "I caught him the next morning." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "The guy is right there." And I looked over, and there was the child molester sitting on the typewriter without a mark on him. I attacked the wrong dude. It was heartbreaking. It really looked a lot like the guy. I thought it was him. I felt terrible thinking of that guy when he hit the ground saying that he was a burglar. I always said to myself, if I ever saw that guy again, I would let him punch me in the face because I deserved it. Uh, it was a bad situation. That was a bad one. Not fun.